Tony and Mike Beets are the stars of the hit TV show Gold Rush. They are known for having crazy personalities and going on dangerous adventures in the world of gold digging. Fans of the show followed them as they tried to make it rich in the harsh desert, dealing with rough terrain and mining problems along the way. As if they were living the American dream, their lives were like an exciting, daring movie plot. Because they were ready to take risks and work hard, they built their business in their name. When the terrible news came out, though, everything changed. Tony and Mike Beets were given life sentences in prison. This twist, which was both shocking and terrible, caught everyone off guard. In real life, the Beets family was suddenly at the center of a crisis. On TV, they were almost always linked to gold mining. What's wrong? And how did these two men, who were once praised for their determination, get themselves into this terrible mess? Many people found it hard to believe that fans who had cheered for them on TV were now questioning everything they thought they knew about the Beets family. The sudden turn of events left leaving a trail of doubt, confusion, and most of all, interest. The news came after a very heated court case. A chain of events that were found during the investigation painted a much darker picture than anyone had thought. Details about the case were carefully kept under wraps, adding to the mystery surrounding the entire situation. Stay with us as we dig into the journey of Tony and Mike. What exactly they did to land them in this position, if they were involved in legal activities, or if there was a more complicated web of events that led to their downfall. Tony Beets was born in the Netherlands in 1959 in the small town of Wijk-Dennis. In 1980, when he was 21, he took a chance and moved to Canada. He only had hope and a few dollars with him. To make things meet, he first lived in Alberta and got a job on a dairy farm. Tony was used to working hard, even though life was hard. But it didn't take him long to figure out that farming, while honest work, wasn't going to make him much money. He changed his attention to mining because he was interested in stories of wealth and had a strong work ethic. A lot of people would have given up in the Klondike region of Yukon Territory because of its harsh temperature and remote wilderness, but Tony didn't. He didn't see problems, just chances. Tony Beets did more than just dig for gold in the Yukon. He made a name for himself. The rough terrain and extreme weather became the background for his rise in the gold mining world. With determination and hard work, he not only struck gold, but he also found his true calling. It wasn't just a job to mine. He lived his life around it, and it made him one of the most famous and well-known people in the business. Tony Beets did well in more places than just the Yukon. From the ground up, he built a huge gold mine business. Tony started out with almost nothing and built a small mining business into a family business that became one of the most famous in the Klondike. Before Tony started working in the field, his wife Minnie Beets was very important. She kept the business side of things running smoothly by keeping the books and handling money. The Beets children, Kelvin, Monica, and Mike, did what their dad did as the business grew. Instead of going after other jobs, they joined the family business and learned how to run huge multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment. They learned the trade the hard way by doing it themselves, often in bad weather and other harsh situations with Tony's help. Tony quickly became known for his extensive knowledge of mines and unwavering commitment to work, as well as his straightforward approach and larger-than-life personality. His unusual ways of doing things, short temper, and famously bad language made him stand out from other workers. He was known for barking orders and pushing his team, which included his family, to their limits. "Shut the up and keep mining" became one of his famous phrases. People who watched the hit reality show Gold Rush really liked how honest Tony was, and he became a hit. People admired how he wouldn't sugarcoat the truth and how determined he was to win despite all the odds. Tony Beets was already a pro when he joined Gold Rush in Season 2. With decades of skill, he was already a miner. Tony was more skilled than most of the other miners because he had been in the business for a long time. Many of Tony's competitors had a hard time finding gold in the harsh Klondike, but his operation always did better than the others, bringing in huge amounts of gold year after year. Because he was experienced and planned his mining, he did well where others failed. With the 5th season, Tony made a big move that made him one of the most driven miners in the Klondike. He paid a huge $1 million for the historic dredge at Eureka Creek. Many people who didn't like the idea thought it would fail because it was such a big risk. But Tony saw opportunity where other people saw danger. He spent a lot of time and money fixing up the famous dredge, which was a huge old piece of mining equipment. Tony made it profitable despite all odds, showing his doubters wrong and making the dredge a successful business that helped him build his empire. As the gold rush grew, it became clear to the makers that Tony Beets and his family were a big part of why people liked the show. Two main things that made the show popular were the drama in the Beets family and Tony's larger-than-life attitude. People often called the Beets family the Vikings of the Klondike. They brought a special energy to the show, and fans found their stories to be some of the most interesting. It wasn't just about gold, it was about how strong the Beets family was, how their relationships were always changing, and how they never gave up on their goal of success. Tony found something even more important in the Yukon wilderness than gold, a way to show how honest and determined he was. His journey proved that with hard work, calculated risk-taking, and a bit of grit, it was possible to turn even the most unlikely ventures into thriving businesses. Success in the Klondike wasn't guaranteed, but for Tony Beets it was the reward for decades of perseverance and relentless chase of his goals. Over the years, the Beets family built a mining empire that grew steadily in front of television viewers. As viewers tuned in, they watched the family's growing dominance in the gold mining industry, staking more claims and scaling up operations. At the center of this growth was Tony Beets, a seasoned miner whose rugged leadership style won him a reputation in both the field and on screen. Working closely beside him was his son Mike Beets. Mike was involved in mining from a very young age and became his father's valued right-hand man over time. He learned every part of the business, from how to run heavy equipment to how to organize the details of a crew. He had a strong work ethic and was naturally a leader. It looked like Mike would eventually take over the family business, Paradise Hill, carrying on the work that Tony had started. However, their father-son bond wasn't without tension. Their bond, while strong, was often tried by the pressures of the mining business. Heated arguments and shouting matches were not uncommon, especially during difficult mining seasons. Despite these clashes, there was mutual respect between the two, and Tony gradually entrusted Mike with greater responsibilities, grooming him to eventually take the reins of the Beets mining business. But behind the scenes, the story took a darker turn. In 2019, federal investigators began scrutinizing the Beets family business after environmental complaints emerged, specifically violations involving improper wastewater disposal. What started as standard inspections soon evolved into a wider investigation. Authorities allegedly found discrepancies in the company's records, including suspicious inconsistencies in how gold production was reported. There were rumors that when Tony's family passed the power from Tony to Mike, more than just mining knowledge was swapped hands. Investigators said that illegal activities may have been a part of the business for decades, linking illegal activities with mining operations that were otherwise legal. It became clear as the investigation went on that the family's rise to power in the mining industry may have been accompanied by illegal activities that had become deeply ingrained in the day-to-day running of the business over many years. The legal and criminal issues surrounding the Beets company added a dark tone to the story, casting a shadow over what at first glance seemed like a simple tale of family success in the mining business. Court papers say that the investigation into the Beets family's mining business got a lot worse when former employees came forward with shocking claims about illegal mining practices and large-scale tax evasion. John Reeves, a mine inspector, gave one of the most important testimony. He said that environmental samples taken from the tailings ponds on the Beets claims contained dangerous chemicals like mercury and cyanide. These chemicals are not allowed at all in modern gold mining because they are very bad for health and the environment. For example, they can pollute groundwater and hurt ecosystems for a long time. According to what Reeves said, these chemicals were used on purpose to increase the amount of gold that was recovered, especially early in the morning when TV teams weren't there. Prosecutors said that these illegal activities were hidden on purpose to keep up a good public image and make as much money as possible. Engineer Brian Anderson, who had worked for the Beets family for 8 seasons as a mechanic, gave the most damning proof. Anderson helped the police and gave them video from a hidden camera that showed Tony and Mike Beets talking with buyers from Venezuela about gold deals that they never told the tax authorities about. According to the authorities, this video showed that there was a well-run money laundering operation. To avoid taxes and foreign scrutiny, The plan called for selling gold without telling anyone about it. The prosecution brought in financial experts who said that between 2012 and 2012, when the Beets family was at the height of their fame on the Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, more than $15 million in gold sales were not recorded. A second set of financial records that were hidden in Tony Beets's office was found after more research. Reports say that these papers showed the real numbers for gold recovery, which were much higher than what was shown on TV or told the tax officials. Peter Lewis, a former crew member, testified that a lot of what people saw on Gold Rush was a highly edited version of a much bigger, more secretive operation. This makes the claims more likely to be true. Lewis remembered that Tony frequently told his team, "What happens after the cameras leave stays between us," indicating a deliberate effort to hide certain activities from both the film crew and regulatory agencies. In a public court case, the Beets family's lawyers, led by famous defense lawyer Samantha Wright, fought hard against major charges of environmental crimes, tax evasion, and selling gold without a license. Wright said that the prosecution's witnesses were likely angry ex-employees with personal grudges, implying that their statements were based more on anger than on truth. Wright fought hard to protect Tony Beets's image, saying that he was a hard-working but honest businessman who had built a mining empire through years of hard work and not by breaking the law. Wright told the court that this man had spent his whole life building a business. She made it clear that the public had been watching the Beets family for more than 10 years because they were famous from their roles on the TV show Gold Rush. Wright said that these people are TV stars, not crime masterminds. Why would someone do something illegal when there are national cameras rolling? On the other hand, prosecutors painted a very different picture. That the Beets fame wasn't something that would stop people, but rather something that could help them, like a smoke mask. By showing a clean and controlled version of doing business on TV, the family reportedly took attention away from a much bigger and more secret off-camera mining operation. Prosecutors said that while people watched staged mining as entertainment, the real business was making millions of dollars in hidden profits and damaging the environment in a way that could not be fixed. After hearing from over a dozen people for 6 weeks, it only took the jury 3 days to come to a decision. All of them are guilty. The charges included planning to cheat on taxes, damaging the environment, and running a gold trade network without a license. During sentencing, Judge Rebecca Holloway made it clear she would not go easy on the offenders. She said that what they did was a huge breach of public trust and a direct threat to the Yukon's fragile ecosystem. According to what the experts said, the illegal use of chemicals like mercury and arsenic had already polluted the groundwater in a way that could last for generations. Tony Beets stayed stubborn when he was given the chance to speak in court. He said, "I built everything from nothing. No one can take away my rights, but they can take what I made." His son Mike Beets looked more emotional and subdued. He told the court that he had merely followed his father's orders, a plea that Judge Holloway dismissed as convenient, but ultimately not exculpatory. The final decision shocked even seasoned legal observers. Tony and Mike Beets are both going to jail for life. Legal experts said that this kind of sentence is very uncommon for financial crimes, but prosecutors were able to make the case that the environmental damage was so bad that it needed the harshest punishment available. After the dramatic guilty verdicts and life terms for Tony and Mike Beets, Judge Rebecca Holloway made a harsh closing statement. She said that going after gold is not worth polluting the water and land for hundreds of years. Her words resounded in the courtroom and beyond, showing how serious the case was for the environment and the law. People in both the mining industry and the entertainment industry were shocked when they heard about the sentence. The Beets family was well known because they were on the Discovery Channel show Gold Rush for a long time. The show showed the ups and downs of placer gold digging in the Yukon. When the Beet went off the air, the show's credibility and the public image of the business were put under a lot of scrutiny. Because of this, the Discovery Channel quickly put out an official statement to distance itself from the problem. This news has shocked and saddened us very much. Discovery never knew of any illegal actions going on at the mines that were shown on Gold Rush. These claims are taken very seriously, and we are now re-examining how we do review in the future. Raw Television, the company that makes the show, also reacted by saying that the show would be changing in big ways right away. All episodes of the show that already have the Beets family would be taken down from streaming services, and new episodes would focus on the criminal case directly. The Gold Rush would not be cancelled, but production would be held to higher standards, and there would be a greater focus on being open. The co-stars of the mining show were also shocked by the news. Tony Beets and Parker Schnabel played rivals and sometimes fought on screen. In a statement, Parker Schnabel said, "Tony was always intense and uncompromising, but I never suspected anything illegal. This changes how I'll view everything that happened during those seasons." When reporters talked to Rick Ness, another longtime miner and cast member, he was visibly shaken. "I'm speechless. Never saw this coming," he said. Despite the shocking verdict, Beets' lawyers moved quickly to file appeals, citing what they called many procedural errors during the trial, such as the fact that covert recordings were allowed, and how expert testimony was handled. Legal experts said that because of the amount and strength of the evidence, it is unlikely that the appeal will be successful. As one expert put it, overturning such a comprehensive conviction is a legal uphill battle. In the meantime, Tony and Mike Beets were sent to different maximum security prisons to wait for the results of their appeals. The case is still being talked about in many different fields, as an example of how expensive environmental crimes can be, and how dangerous it can be to mix fame with business. Tony and Mike Beets were found guilty and given life sentences for a number of environmental and financial crimes related to their gold mining operation, but not all family members were found guilty. Minnie Beets, Tony's wife and longtime business partner, spoke out in support of her husband outside of court, saying, "We've been together for 40 years. I know this man. He built everything we have through hard work, not through crime." Tony's wife was not charged in the case and has remained by her husband's side. When asked about their children, Kevin and Monica Beets, who had worked in the family's mining business and appeared on Gold Rush often, they kept quiet during the trial. Neither of them was charged, and both were seen in court during the trial. Later, prosecutors confirmed that Kevin and Monica helped investigators in exchange for money. They were given immunity, but it wasn't made public how much they knew about or were involved in the illegal actions. There are effects on other people from the Beets family's downfall. The Canadian government took over the Paradise Hill mining operation, which was once worth millions of dollars, and was a landmark in the Gold Rush series. Cleanup efforts are already underway, and early reports say they will cost over $20 million and take decades to finish. One of the most important things that was taken away after the scandal was Tony Beets' restored dredge, a huge piece of mining equipment that had been the show's main attraction. Tests showed that it was contaminated with mercury, which made it dangerous. A machine that was once seen as a monument to Klondike mining history is now seen as toxic waste. People in Dawson City have had a range of reactions. Some agree that the Beets family's fame on TV brought international attention and tourists to the area, but others say that the signs of their dangerous behavior had been there for years. "He always did things his own way," said James Wilson, a longtime Klondike miner. But no one thought that meant breaking the law on this level. The case is a turning point for the reality TV industry that has never been seen before. Reality TV has had its share of problems, from cheating behind the scenes to scandals that happen off-screen, but never before have main characters in a hit show been charged with a crime of this magnitude. Media analysts say that going forward, networks will have to have stricter oversight and screening processes for reality shows. Discovery Channel and Raw Television, the company that makes Gold Rush, have already announced big changes to how the show is made and aired. Now that Tony and Mike Beets are in jail, many questions still need to be answered. Even though Tony and Mike Beets' criminal trial is over, the legal case is far from over. What will happen to the family's remaining mining claims and equipment? Will the rest of the family go back to mining? Or has the Beets legacy come to an end? And finally,
How did one of the most famous families in gold mining go from being on TV to being convicted of crimes?